Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The pandemic has changed the way we work, and many people are anticipating a hybrid future. There was no rule book throughout the epidemic. Previously, much of the culture revolved around getting things done. However, over the past 15 months, we have prioritized employees, which has put some cultures under strain. Now we are wondering how a return to work may look like. This is a once in a lifetime chance to reshape our culture. A hybrid culture will be an amalgamation. And in this session, we will touch upon the changes both at the individual level and at the business level. Welcome to this fireside chat from home to office, preparing workforces for a hybrid culture. We extend a warm welcome to our speakers, Mr. Anupam Dutta, founder and director, Headway BPO Solutions, Mr. Sumit Mitra, CEO, Tesco Business Services and Tesco Bengaluru. Thank you so much for joining, and we welcome our moderator, Shalini Pillay, Office Managing Partner, Bangalore, and Head of the GCC Practice KPMG. So without further ado, over to you, Ms. Pillay.
Thank you, Deepti, and a very good afternoon to all of you tuning in and listening to, I would say, yet another panel conversation on a topic that is so topical. Over the last, I would say, 20 odd months, we've actually seen and discussed the go to home and work from home model, the return to work, which we kind of did a few months ago and attempted it before we went through the second wave. And now we find ourselves yet again in the midst of a similar scenario. We're looking forward to chatting with our panelists today and getting to hear some very, very diverse perspectives from leaders who represent very different sectors. With takeaways, I'm sure that you will all have as you walk away from this session today. But before I get into the conversation and put a few questions to my colleagues here on the panel, I did think that it was worth talking about very briefly what we've all seen happen over the last 20 months. While there was a lot of challenges we've all been through, the pandemic also brought with it a silver lining in some sorts, which we'll talk about because it introduced organizations having to do a whole bunch of things. Firstly, reset thinking top down, rewiring their operating model, redrafting policies as one has traditionally known them to be, reshaping and reskilling the workforce as one gears up for the future, realigning processes to really adapt to this new model that we're all getting into, and re-architecting systems at their very core. So pretty much every dimension of the business has gone through a sea change. As we all settle into what is increasingly looking like a very interesting hybrid virtual, what it really means is looking at all of these various dimensions and at the core also looking at what does it spell out for culture of the organization. End of the day, it is working together, people coming together to adapt to all of these changes that's going to define a very successful road ahead. So with that brief backdrop, today we are going to touch upon elements of culture. I think every tenet of what defines culture has seen a change as well. So we'll chat about that and hear from Sumit and Anupam on what they have been experiencing. And to get us started, I really thought no better place than to get both of them to reflect on the past 2 years, what they believe have been the most significant changes that the organization has adopted and embraced, and how would they really assess what the outcomes have been in these times. And I don't know, Sumit, would you like to go first and give us your views?
Sure, Shalini. Thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, as you know, I work for Tesco, and Tesco is one of the largest food retailer in Europe. In fact, in UK, we produce 30% of UK's food. So, which means that it came with a lot of responsibility. And as COVID hit us in 2020, as you can imagine, the volume of online ordering, the volume of the responsibility to support our customers, especially the vulnerable ones, which were classified as vulnerable people who were diabetic, suffering from cancer, or showing symptoms of COVID, we had to continue to support them. Just to give you some statistics, just before COVID, we were doing around 600,000 orders a week from an online perspective. And within 4 weeks of COVID, we were doing 1.2 to 1.3 million orders. So that's almost doubled our online business. So this required obviously a shift change in how the organization had to deal with it. And you use the word agility. And this is not agile with a capital A, but almost with a small a. How do you become faster, quicker? I would call out three things from an organization perspective, which really came into play during this COVID time. Number one is how we shifted gear from profit to purpose. Tesco has a very clear purpose of serving our shoppers a little better every day. The little better every day. COVID made us think about that it's not about profit anymore. It's about how do we continue to support our customers who have been with us for the last 100 years or so. There have been generations who've been shopping with us from a Tesco perspective. So how do we ensure we make sure that vulnerable customers, the customers who can't go out, make sure they're available. When our shops are open, make sure we are maintaining social distancing. We have a responsibility to make food available for those customers. In that same backdrop, if you think about, we lost almost 52,000 colleagues to COVID. They were, in the last week of March, first week of April, around 52,000 colleagues who were supporting the customers in store, they were off sick, or they were classed as vulnerable, or they were self-isolated, which meant that we could have easily taken a stance and said, look, we're not going to hire, and this is COVID and we're going to deal with it. We went ahead and hired 48,000 colleagues in 3 weeks to help and support our customers. So that's kind of the big, because you're then paying double salary to people who are sitting at home as well as the new colleagues who are coming in. So it's a shift. The second one, how we went from more controlling, command and control, to a more empowering organization, allowing our front-end staff to make those decisions right at the heart of when they're meeting the customers, especially online, our contact centers, as well as the colleagues who were kind of working. And this also impacted on our suppliers as well. Smaller suppliers, they were vulnerable. So how do we support them? How do we pay them advance, in fact, to support them and help them survive? And the last one, no more planning. You can't sit here and plan for next 5 years. Is how do you move from planning to experimentation and quickly experiment? You learn, you stop, you start, you continue. So that really helped us to create more agile culture within our organization.
Super, and really strong takeaways there, Sumit, for an organization that's clearly at the core, touching customers' lives every single day. And you touched upon elements of purpose, elements of empowerment, and experimentation, all of which in some sense are critical to the culture. And I'll come back to you in a moment to chat a little about what you're seeing in that change in culture, because some of it seems intrinsic to your core culture in any case. But those are great examples of how you've kind of worked through the pandemic. And on that same note, and with that same question, Anupam, would love to hear a little bit about your experiences from a very different lens and given your business model.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Shalini. Thanks, Sumit and Dimple and to entire team. And thanks for this opportunity. And I would say, still I can remember the days when in March 2020, then the lockdown has been declared all of a sudden, right? So we were not, ready for it. And we are HBS, Headway BPO solution. From the day one, we are into digital, using the cloud and digital platform, but working from office environment. And we are working in India, US, UK, and Canada. But you know what? When that announcements has happened, normally we in organizations, in a culture, we do have the PCP and DRP plan. Okay, but this pandemic and then COVID-19, it actually teaches a lot of things. No BCP, no DRP plan, that could bring the success. So I would say one sentence that is necessity is the mother's invention. So when you are stuck somewhere, like how you can come out with this things. So what we have done across the globe, we are like, offering, we are into BPO and KPO. So under BPO, we are like, contact center solution, engaging and offering different clients, across the globe in 4 geographies. And under KPO, we are into accounting, we are in HR and payroll, but those are on cloud. But people are working in a very good, like, office environment. Now, what to do when the announcement has happened? So all of a sudden, like, we were stuck for a few days, at least a week. So what would be the next? What is our BCP and DRP plan? Customer, and that is a March, I believe, end, year end, and you need to go live, because a lot of payroll, a lot of digital solutions you need to offer. So but somehow, with the leadership skills and the focus got totally changed. Then we totally engaged with ourselves, how we could resolve, like, the plan, resilience, and then how we can return it back, reimagination, and then the reframe of the work, whatever we are doing as usual till March 2020. Now, how we can come back with these things, how we can survive these things. So strategically, there are 4 areas, like, we immediately focus on. That is that how we can rebuild our operation, like work from home environment, because people move to the work from home environment. Then the definitely there are a lot of in between that, a lot of people are not, technology was the problem. A lot of people have, like, work, there is a lot of challenges in terms of continuity. We face those challenges and culture when you are working in an office environment. But when you are moving into work from home environment, so definitely there are a lot of issues while taking a calls, while 8 or 9 hours at a stress when you are giving. Considering all these things, slowly steadily we shift our entire things. Then how immediately we can accelerating the adopting of digital solutions, whatever we have from the day one. But the thing is, when 10 hours you are working from home, definitely you need to make shift all these things. So we have adapted very quickly all these things. Okay. And considering the culture in the sense, then the new scales, adapting of new scales, we drive it through along with, like, all the geography, including our headquarters over here, that the startup mindset, and then the human capital, how to nurture them. Okay, so adaptability, you need to adapt very fast, act as an urgency, like, you need to act very fast. These are the ways, like, and the agile operating model, definitely how you can sustain. Probably we really don't know how long we need to work from home. So these are the things immediately we adapt. And able to serve, I think that time is 200 plus client across the globe. And it's very well managed. That time I can still remember. So that is, I can say that, okay, the way we have handled from the Headway BPO.
So thank you for that, Anupam. And you touched upon all aspects of what you've adapted to. If I may, just as a follow on to that, while that was through COVID, if you look at the road forward, is that the model that you're set to uh, uh, to continue to adopt in terms of the virtual hybrid? How do you see that? All of what you just described, is that going to be the business as usual model now going forward?
Considering, like, the work from home environment, definitely there are a lot of new digital collaborations, new digital things we have adopted very fast. Though we are cloud based company, everything whatever we're offering, but still, like, whenever you are working from home and bringing in a hybrid model, definitely the challenges are there. But considering the current situation, so we are still working. It is very early to say, but we are working on the both now.
Okay.
Probably I would say 40 to 50%, like, we are just testing the environment, how 40% of the workforce, if they can work from home, and 3 to 4 days, if they can come back to the office and work from office environment. So these are the things we are till like, testing and moving ahead. But it's a new normal. I would say it's a new normal. Next 5 years down the line, I think the new hybrid model will work. Neither it will work from home, neither it will be 100% office environment, but it depends on, like, industry or domain specific, what the
Got
organization needs,
got it.
you need
Got it.
to go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And before I get into a couple of very culture-specific questions, Sumit, on the same note, from your perspective, do you all have more clarity? How do you see this hybrid model evolving? Where do you see the future?
Yeah, I mean, look, we made it very clear that almost 80% of our workforce actually work in stores, right? So they have to be supporting our customers. They work in the distribution centers. They're the drivers that carrying food, etc. So the question arises to that 20-25% that's sitting in the headquarters.
Correct.
We said we would rather spend more time together than apart. So that was kind of our statement as an organization. So which means that we need to think about the way we do things when we come to office. So what we are saying is you don't need to come back to office 5 times a week. So what you do is you figure out which days your team is here, and then you can work together as a team and you collaborate. And need to think about what do you do in office now. So when you come into office, do you sit down and do some emails and then go home and not talk to anybody? Or do you come in and create more collaborative spaces from office design perspective, and you collaborate and you transform and you work with a lot of agility and the pace of transformation. So, like I said, the hybrid model is here to stay, but it depends solely on what we do in office. That has to be defined very clearly.
Very well said. And I'm going to go back to the core theme, which was culture, which is an interesting subject to talk about. And would really like to hear, you spoke of purpose, customer centricity, empowerment, experimentation. Over the last 2 years almost, what has changed, if anything, in terms of what is the impact on culture as you've seen it? And how would you summarize, how you're looking to deal with the challenges that this hybrid model might pose to culture?
Yeah, I'll talk about 2 themes really, Shalini, here. One of our values in Tesco is we treat people how they would like to be treated.
Yeah.
And what we found that as an organization, we became far more inclusive because, because the empathy became right at the heart of everything that we did from a culture perspective. Whether it's empathy towards customer, whether it's empathy towards colleague, empathy became right at the center of everything that we did. I used to hear a lot of people saying, oh, we are all in the same boat during COVID. But from my perspective, we're not in the same boat. We are in the same storm, but everybody's sitting on a different boat because everybody's problems are different. So I think it's a bit irresponsible of organizations to say, oh, we will paint everybody with the same brush. We're not. We need to create that inclusivity. We need to make sure we treat people as individuals and treat people how they would like to be treated because everybody has different problems. That's number one. And second, as a very large food retailer, as I said, 30% of UK food is supplied by Tesco. It comes with a lot of responsibility towards the planet and a lot of responsibility towards the community who are really suffering. So you may have heard in the UK, one footballer called Marcus Rashford did a lot of work around providing food to underprivileged children who weren't going to school because they weren't getting their 2 meals a day, which they would get from schools. So we changed our purpose completely. And we came up with a new purpose. We said, it's not about serving our shoppers a little better. It's serving our customers, communities, and planet a little better every day. So anything and everything that we do, we need to make sure, because that's what the customer is telling us, that we need to care about the planet. We need to care about, the communities around us. And we have been doing that for centuries. But it's how do we bring that right at the heart of our purpose and getting every single colleague connected to that purpose of the organization. So that's the change I've seen drastically.
And that's brilliant because Dipti set the context to say what better time than to review and revisit. And in some sense, kind of stepping back, a perfect inflection point to look at what is that purpose that the organization is driven towards. And I think there couldn't have been a better time to do that, to question that purpose, to challenge or revisit it and realign to what you really want to be, how you want to drive your business. So those are some great points there. And again, Anupam, your views on how has this impacted culture? To what extent has it had an impact, and what are challenges you're seeing in building this hybrid, building culture in a hybrid environment?
Okay, Shalini. Well, I mean, it's a really very good questions, and yes, I do agree because considering we are into the BFSI domain, and considering the experience which we have, we never ever think about it that the BFSI domain, and especially the backend or the all call center, can work from home environment. We never ever given some thought banking processes, financial processes, never ever. Now, considering the culture, what when while working with the international clients, we always have think that we will always have a face-to-face meeting, or whatever the expectation setup, customer experience, working from secured environment, and what the client always look at, they want. But COVID-19, I would say it's a cultural shock, and it will take some time to adapt, not only as a service delivery partner, but as a customer or as a client as well. Up to a certain extent, in 24 months, I think we are pretty stable, and in terms of expectation, because people realized that there is no turnaround. I mean, this is the only way, this is the only new normal. I mean, either we can expect the delivery, and we need to work it out. Okay. Now, considering the culture, it's a kind of unbiased, ensuring the remote, when people are working remotely, there are a lot of things. It could be the region, it could be something, and the bandwidth issues. So it is not always person to person. Like when we are working in a secure, safe environment in the office, when people go back to their work from home environment, it not really, people are very dedicated when they used to work in the office environment. But when they go back, it is not their fault. Sometimes the bandwidth issues, because India itself having a lot of issues in terms of infrastructure. When you talk about the tier 1 and tier 2 and 3 cities, they still have a lot of issues. Now, continuity perspective, delivering and all these things, it's not directly culture, but indirectly it is related to the culture, because sometimes people are not express the things, not getting the voice and all these things. So it will say that considering our BPO and KPO kind of environment, the challenges which we face are productivity issues, like when we move into the work from office to work from home environment. Definitely it is not that person is not dedicated, but it is the infrastructure issue or something. And the delusion of culture, the culture, how it will impact the workforce, right?
Yeah.
Directly and indirectly. What Sumit has mentioned, that empathy, directly, I mean, we always talk about the IQ, right? But post COVID, we lost so many colleagues, friends, and relatives. Mindset got totally changed. You really don't know what is going on in
Sure.
his or her life.
Yeah.
So as an organizations, we also brought some kind of EQ, like emotional questions,
Yeah. Yeah.
personal connect something, and also the LQ, that love questions. Because see, post COVID, you really don't know, you need to be really really connect, whether it doesn't matter which position and who are
Yeah.
you, but once you are connected, then probably you can get that to know that what is going on.
Got it.
Yeah, so this I mean, seamless connectivity and
Yeah.
all, we have established all this thing, deep engagement from the
Yeah.
leadership on various level, and then employee well-being, how they are doing on a day-to-day level.
Yeah.
Because before you ask that what is the delivery and all these things, you need to ask that well-being, how he or she is doing particular. So these are the things we strategize, put it across, and then it works pretty well in when you are personally connected. So that okay, and then it indirectly directly increase the productivity, as well as bring the very good culture. Doesn't
Got
matter
it.
work
Got
from
it.
or work from office. Yeah, that I can.
Thanks for that, Anupam. I hear empathy loud and clear, connecting and staying engaged loud and clear. And I also hear you say that for the BFSI sector, at one level, given your core role, it is still evolving in terms of how the hybrid will work, and that's not entirely all cleared just now. And it's important to highlight because this is nuanced by sector as we're all experiencing. And to be honest, it will continue to evolve. So some great points there. In the interest of time, I'm going to go to a couple other questions and go through them quite rapidly. And Sumit, there is a question from the audience which is linked to what I was going to ask as well, to say that colleagues seem to have lost the sense of belongingness to an organization. And what this virtual hybrid is doing, I mean, many of us have had people getting onboarded in hundreds and thousands through the pandemic who haven't really even seen the office, met many colleagues. In that kind of an environment, how do you actually make sure that work cultures are kind of adaptable? How do you kind of cascade the culture across the organization, have shared beliefs? And some thoughts from both of you. And Sumit, I'd request you to go first in terms of talking about, are you seeing technology kind of help the culture cascading and reinventing work culture at one level?
Yeah, I think there is a real issue here because we are hiring people all over the country.
Yeah.
And only the common denominator between working for us and somebody else is a laptop, and sometimes it's the same brand as well. So it's very difficult to get people to buy into the culture of the organization. And what really annoys me is when I see a lot of organizations saying, "Oh, we are in a rush. We need to get the people in because the attrition is high, etc." So it's a 2-hour induction process. So I think the induction, there has to be a lot of focus on induction as we induct people into the culture. I mean, here at Tesco, we have almost 5 days of induction where we talk about our strategy, our culture, our values, and getting into the purpose of the organization, a number of different aspects of the organization. And then what we also do is leverage a lot of colleagues. We have almost 40% of our colleagues have worked 5 years or more. So how do you leverage them and get them to body up and have those conversations, the water cooler conversations, which is missing now being virtual? And how do you have those virtual connects? And one of the things I'm going to do from January onwards, fingers crossed, things don't get worse, is I want to induct people into our campus. So even if they're working from home, how can you get them into the campus to get them inducted there so that they have a feel for the people, feel for the culture, feel for the company they're actually working for?
Absolutely. I saw some great photographs of your campus as it's getting ready for the Jan return to work. So yeah, I can see people being excited as well. Anupam, any quick comments on that before I go to a couple last questions?
Yeah, I think this pandemic, on the other way around, we took it as an opportunity. How? Because earlier our headquarters is in Delhi, but across 4 geography we are working. Earlier we used to hire people, Delhi NCR and the nearest state. But this pandemic, when the moment of work from home, it gave us an opportunity. We try to hire across India level. Doesn't matter whether it is someone is from Jammu Kashmir or Tripura or somewhere else, But when you talk about the culture, definitely there are a lot of local issues where these are affecting the productivity and the delivery as well. But we quickly adapt the technology part. So we brought, because some of our client, we cannot, because there are a lot of cybersecurity and a lot of issues came up, like people working from home. So we always try to give a secured environment while people are working from home. So like one example, like when people are in a call center. So if like SSO ID or something they're taking a calls from US or Canada. If someone from the back end, wanted to just have a look, immediately the platform will be stopped and will be directly complained to the compliance officer, signed account. So it has a capability to capture that particular, So these are of things through using our technology we are trying to bring it up. So I would say it's totally technology driven, data driven, which like the new hybrid or work from home culture, which you need to bring out. And it is like, not like, something we can say that we need to test the environment. And it is a test and run environment for the approach
Yeah.
for organizations or like domain we need to, and then we need to take the decision the way forward. So these are the kind of things which we are implementing,
Got it. Got it. It's a fascinating world where technology is driving so much, and yet we're here talking about culture, which is so critical. And with that, I'm going to ask you all both one last question, and it's a rapid fire kind of question with a rapid response, but very keen to ask you that if you view this as a once in a lifetime opportunity to shape culture, and as you plan the road ahead, what is that one thing you're going to do differently? The first thing that comes to your mind. Very quick, brief response, please.
From me or
yeah, sure. Anupam, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, which is coming in my mind, that is called the digital transformation.
Okay.
Entirely, it should be data driven. Everything, whatever, still date, if we are using any application in a traditional way, immediately we need to make shift to the cloud environment.
Okay.
And the process automation. And along with this, we need to make the change management, because there are a lot of resistance from different levels, which from the leadership, from the executive, like, that change management needs to nurture and that cultivate. And then the performance, because when the hybrid model or work from home environment, we need to make some data driven performance management system in place, so that we can drive this one. But last but not the least, but that we need to look at the cost management portfolio as well, cash flow, then cybersecurity, IT, and then IoT and cloud environment, how we can work it out. So this is like, a couple of things which I should take it as an organization. And I think people also, whether it doesn't matter whether BFSI, retail, or any other industry, I think digital transformation is like, we need to adapt it.
Got it.
The collaboration is the mantra.
No, absolutely. All of those apply. And Sumit, one thank you, Anupam.
Yeah, just very, very quickly. The biggest issue ahead of us is the skill shortage. Yeah. And we seeing, as McKinsey called it, the great Indian attrition. And how do you kind of deal with it? I think, wish we started this slightly earlier, is how do you build those skill gaps? How do you, look at the skills of the future and build those skills in-house, so that you don't have to go out in the market as much as we are having to go out now. So, whether it's data savviness, whether it's building emotional intelligence, whether it's, commercial acumen, whether it's, technical skills. So how do you build this in-house? And then you augment your resourcing, whether it's through a third-party model, through a startup, or through hiring people. I think that is a real key factor for the future.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sumit, and for Anupam. And I think with that, we'll bring this to a wrap. We've covered a bunch of different themes. I know constrained by time, but some things loud and clear. The whole piece around being able to empathize with the workforce, being able to and have the opportunity to reflect on and revisit your purpose, to kind of look at empowerment, experimentation, all in the spirit of embracing agility. And Sumit, on your last words, to look at really gearing up the workforce for the future skills. So bunch of different themes which we have tried to bring together, but hopefully our audience has had an opportunity to listen into some of your experiences. Thank you again for joining me this afternoon. It was great chatting with you. And with that, I'll hand over back to you, Dipti.
Thank you, Shalini.
Thank you. Thank you, Shalini.
Thanks, Dipti.